What's up, Space Cadets?
This is the
Next Gen Revolution Podcast.
And welcome to the motherfucking future.
That was perfect said.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Welcome.
This is a guy I met. I guess where did we meet the first time? At the wedding, at Ahmed's wedding.
That might be it. You were driving a convertible, if I'm not wrong. Do you still drive it?
Yeah.
Used to be that.
Don't cry, Mason. Don't cry.
Yeah, before I wrecked it. Yeah.
Don't hang it up. Don't do it.
Before I literally totaled that bitch. But yeah.
It's like
No, but yeah.
Yeah.
So Ram's on here, guys. I guess I'll let him talk for himself, but he's
He's an
just
official
a freaking
Astro
baller. Yeah, he is, straight up. And we just thought like me and him just vibe like on another level, and been hanging out a little bit recently, and I'm like, yo, come on the podcast, like, let's go. So it's gonna be legit, guys. So Ram, I guess you want to do a little introduction. How do you feel?
I'm feeling great, man.
Yeah?
Fine Tuesday evening, and well, better to ask to meet you guys. I've been hearing you. First of all, great podcast. I've been listening to a few of the episodes before,
Thanks,
some of the talks have been really great, and I wasn't quite sure why in between all those people who've done a lot of things, you would want me here, but I'm pretty sure I'd be able to give some of my experience in point of view. But just wanted to give a shout out to your podcast. Really, it's really nice, and
Thanks, man. For real, that means a lot.
Yeah. As for me, I'm Ram. You can call me Ram, which is my second half of my first name, which if it's easier to call me that way. But I'm originally from India. I'm from a city called Chennai, which is like in the southern part of India. And I really, born and brought up just all the way in the city, and I've never moved out of that city before I moved to the United States.
And when was that?
I think it was the fall of 2014. So if I'm not wrong, that's 7 years now. I've been in the States, but
Wow.
So it's been a great journey. But yeah, so I grew up there, and I'm an electrical engineer by trade. I did my undergrad as an electrical engineer, and I moved to the United States to do my master's in electrical engineering as well, and start working in Albany, New York, and I spent 3 years there in the snow, and my wife was here, and she said sunny, and we got Disney and Universal, and just moved down here, and I got tricked to moving down here, and so it's been a year and a half here. It's been great.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Yeah. So first of all, anybody who gets a master's degree in engineering is no average man. So let's just put that out there right now.
Absolutely.
An exemplary man.
Yeah, that's killer though, man. So you've been here about a year. What do you think about Florida? Do you like it more than Albany?
First of all, the Florida man memes are real.
Excellent.
That had just come from nowhere. That's anecdotal right there.
Yeah. But it's been great. It's warm, which really is somewhat close to the weather that I grew up in, which is like the coastal region, humid, hot. A lot of people there, a lot of people here. A good diverse group is when compared to Albany, New York, and it's been good so far. No complaints. But yeah, it's been a year and a half, so I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah, I was about to say you got to spend a little bit more time.
Yeah.
You'll get sick of it. Don't worry.
I mean,
They
come
just
on.
move away
It's
like I did.
that bad. It's got
No,
its.
it's not that bad.
It's got its pros and cons.
Ron, we are in the middle. We kind of briefly talked about it, of a growth series. So we're focusing on when we interview these guys, and like everyone's got these amazing perspectives, but everyone's growth journey is kind of drastically different. Even though all of us, we vibe together, everyone's got similar goals, similar interests. it's kind of interesting to see everybody's perspective. So I guess the main thing I'm curious about is how has the growth been since you've come from India, starting your master's degree and then trying to find a job here, and I guess you're still working through like a work visa, stuff like that. Like, how has the growth journey been for you? Like, has it been difficult? Have you thought it's been easy? Has it kind of come naturally to you? What do you think?
I mean, the real first thing that really, pops up in my mind when you ask that question is from a data analytics point, right? I mean, growth is just a trend, right? When you start, it could be any metric. It could be like money. It could be like knowledge. It could be, just last year when I compared myself, did I learn more? Last year, did I have more money when I compared to last year? So, but I can try and give an answer as to like, just put everything together, just give you a bit. But I started. So as I said, I did my undergrad in electrical engineering, and but even before that, during high school, wasn't really a bright student. Just try to enjoy my life as much as I can. Just
Fuck
yeah, no.
Kudos, man. Not a lot of people.
Rule number one,
That's
enjoy life.
important.
Yeah, not many people view it that way.
Yeah,
In the beginning,
and this is really coming from a pressurized society. So I'll take you guys back to India, where any
let's do it.
subcontinental, any
Never traveled there, so let's go.
any subcontinental parents, right? I mean, I'll take the example of India because I'm from India. I think there's just this pressure of the kid being, not given as much freedom as I see out here in the West. So you got like 3 or 4 options that you need to fit into, irrespective of what you're good at. I mean, it's in the memes, right? I mean, all Indian kids are either doctors or engineers or weirdly gas station owners, but that's a different joke. But
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's up with that?
That's just out in the West. I mean, I feel like I think it must be a good business. I think it turns out a lot of money.
It is.
But really, I mean, when you're growing up in India, I think it's you might be good at art, you might be good at swimming, you might be good at cricket, which is like a huge sport back in India. But I think all the parents have these things in mind that certain professions are the way to go that make a lot of money. And I mean, it's coming from a good heart, but really, I mean, it's I think it is good and bad in a certain way. And I'll start off with the bad attitude. As it really, I mean, that's just out there because you might be really good at something, but you're being forced to do something else. I think that's really right. But the good part, again, is coming from a good heart, and so which means you train harder, right? I mean, when you're, like it's a billion population, everybody's trying to train themselves to be an engineer or doctor, which means you're going to have to go through shit, and you're going to get better at it. So it's really, and there's competition, and really, so I think that's a good part in it, but. As you said, plus and minus. So really, my parents wanted me to be an engineer, and I can't even think of what I wanted to become at that point. So maybe it worked out well, I guess. I just wanted to like not go to school and get out, watch a movie or whatever. But I think some kind of motivation there to do engineering. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started my undergrad. And they really asked me like, what do you like? I said, I don't like mechanical. I don't like civil engineering. And then there was just electrical left. So that's how I started my journey.
Not a bad way to start.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, I'm going to be honest here. I mean, that's really how it started for me, at least. And once I started to pick it up, again, this is another a view of education systems in India, right? I mean, I think once you have that motivation of just to become an engineer or a doctor, all you care about or worry about is that degree, right? The paper that shows that you're an engineer or a doctor, because one, you wouldn't have put your 100% because it's really not something you wanted to do. But really, that's the aim, that's the goal, to become an engineer. Again, don't get me wrong. There were people, in my when I did my undergrad school, a lot of people were really good, and they didn't want to be an engineer or doctor or whatever.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But so once you have that motivation, sort of that push and pressure, you do become an engineer, and then there's really a joke back in India that Indian parents always give you a lot of options, and then they just show fingers. Out of all these, what do you want to become? So there's just one option right there, and they want you to pick that one. So,
And that's even a stigma across like Indian families. Like it's not even just like a Western thing. It's generally like no, we all know like this is kind of how we parent our kids.
Right. No. Yeah.
It sounds like it must have been kind of hard, like you not being able to do really whatever you wanted to, or at least take the time to think about whatever you wanted. Have you had the chance now? Do you think you want to go in a different direction now?
Absolutely. I think in a way, right? I mean, it's like giving a rocket its thrust all the way, and then once you let it on the around the Earth, it starts to free flow. I feel like that's the kind of thing I'm at right now, and it feels like sometimes I do think back and see maybe I needed that push, or sometimes I feel like I was pushed too hard. So really, I mean, and that's the thing I learned is not to look back. Just keep looking forward and just take one day at a time, and hopefully, yeah.
That was beautiful, bro. Yeah, for real. Like we've all been through some shit.
It's like you can learn from the past, but you can learn from your past, but you can't let it like run your future, really.
Yeah, right on.
And I guess
Now,
Ram, you don't really know.
Do you feel like if they didn't push you, you would have like grown or pushed yourself to do something?
I think I would put my money on still delivering pizzas because that was my first job, and that would have been my job forever. It could have
not making, just delivering it.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe the best pizza delivery guy in Chennai. Maybe I don't know.
There you go.
At least be the best in what you do.
Got like a stacks.
Yeah.
Like piled on top of the car, like strapped down, like roped up.
Yeah.
He's coming through.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think again, right, you try and pick the positives, and I feel like maybe that's the kind of push I needed, because I'm living a happy life right now. Maybe it's just unfair to complain of the things that I was pushed to. So just keep LIVIN,
Yeah,
bro. For real.
I was gonna ask you that. I was like, are you feel fulfilled or like happy right now?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, right. I mean, the pressure was high. You're put in a group of people who all have the same motivation, right? I mean, everybody has to get good grades, and everybody has to be an engineer, and everybody, I have a lot of friends who are good at like driving cars, to be honest, and their passion was automobile industry, but they were still learning circuits with me. And it felt like we had different interests, but we were all put together. We had this pressure that we had to be engineers, and what I feel like what I learned from there was I think even if you're interested or somewhere else, but you put your mind through something and you constantly work for it, I think practice can make you better. And I think the point from having a 4-year degree is not learning about circuits or cars or mechanical stuff, but it's the discipline. It's the you got to put your head through it. Just sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you're going to be learning, the discipline to learn, the discipline to sort of do assignments, and discipline that you've paid so much money to learn something. The aptitude to learn and all this stuff is what you should get out of a college, not how circuits work, because you can always learn how circuits work from a guy from YouTube or a guy who actually does circuits outside. But I think that's important, and I feel like that's what I learned from my undergrad.
Yeah.
So
we can't always. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just simple question about like what's your favorite part of you consider your career?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so my question was what's your favorite part of it that you find the most enjoyable?
I think the fact that it kind of keeps changing. I feel like as I said, I started as an electrical engineer, and then I worked in IT for a year. Again, that's a meme in India. Everybody who has a degree, a doctor, anybody, there's so much opportunity for IT in India because most of the stuff that gets done out here is being outsourced, and we get paid to do stuff there. So that's sort of IT is like a huge thing back in India. So I worked on mainframe systems. I literally stared at a black screen that had green code in it, which was probably used in the 1960s and still being used by top 50 banks because it's really secure, and I think IBM sort of still holds onto it tightly. But yeah, I worked in IT for a year, and I felt like this is something that I can't do. This is not staring at a black screen was not the thing. And then I looked at some of the people who sort of moved to the United States to do their higher education, the grad school, and it was bloody expensive, right? I mean, without a scholarship, and you got to pay out of state fees, which I'm pretty sure it's a lot more expensive. But I felt like, I was in my 20s, and I felt like, take out a loan. It's worst thing, 10 years you do a shit job, and you can repay if it doesn't work out. So I took a chance. I came out here, but I had to choose something that I really liked. At that point, I think I was fascinated by something that not a lot of people know, even out here in the West, that there are markets for energy. I know there's like a stock market where you buy and sell companies, but there's like a market where you can buy and sell power, which is something that is decentralized in the United States. So I wanted to learn about that, and I think that's what really sort of kicked things off, and I moved to Missouri. Not sure, not a lot of people think that's the best place to start your career in the United States, but I found it really nice. I graduated in a town called Rolla in Missouri. I took up electrical engineering and studied about energy markets, and I then moved to Albany, New York, for my first job. And there are these organizations called independent system operators, where they sort of regulate and help transmit power from one place to another, and they can buy and sell power, and so that's where I started my career.
Can you expand when you said decentralized electric?
I'm sorry?
Can you expand on what you said, decentralized electric? Like, do you mean that we don't have that, or we do have that now?
So it's a mix in the United States. So
Okay.
there are some regions in the States where people thought that some of the utilities are playing a monopoly. They are charging their customers how much ever they want because they own the generation, they own the load, they own the transmission lines. And I think in 1998 or 99, I think the federal government sort of came in and said, we're going to be forming sort of a market, a not-for-profit organization that will sort of regulate and operate a lot of these utilities. And these were usually by region. So, for example, New York has its own not-for-profit organization that sort of helps all the small utilities inside New York to sort of help operate the power. So really, if you take New York, there's Niagara Falls, which, where all the cheap power, hydropower is. And then you got New York City, where like the expensive load, right? Got to keep light on 24/7. So, and the point of creating these organizations was to sort of get cheaper power. And so it really creates a competition. So if there are 10 sellers, you're going to have to buy from the one who's selling it for the lower cost. So really, some of those things were taken into account when forming these organizations. And in 1998, 99, New York has its own what they call the RTO, and Midwest United States has its own region. California has its own organization, but there are regions where Florida doesn't have an RTO. It's still what they call the vertically integrated. So JEA is its own organization, so it doesn't participate in any market. So it sets its own price, and they own their generation and load. So it really is a mix of both.
And is that like, since it's federal law, is that like coming around? Is somebody coming after JEA and saying, hey, you guys can't be doing this anymore? Or is it like kind of just a slow migration? How's that work?
So it started out as the utilities, they came together and said, 10 of us, let's join together and create this organization, and let's make sure that, if I lose power, I could still get power from you, so that, the power is on 24/7. And that's how it started. So JEA, I would assume that they feel like they are having a good standalone operation going on, and so they don't want to be part of any of the market. So it's really up to sort of the utility itself, and not the federal government coming in and asking every utility to be a part of the market.
Huh. Where do you see the energy market going? Do you see any nuances that are just not looking good, or do you think we're going in the right direction?
I think it's really great. I mean, it's like, in a way, it's like the stock market, right? You got like different. It's a good way to buy and sell power, and having this organization helps create two important things. You can get power cheap, and then there's reliability. As I said, if one of the utilities loses the generator, again, imagine having a region from Michigan down to Louisiana. It's a one single region. So if there's more wind up north, which is a cheaper resource and green power, and you can use the transmission lines to send power from up top down to Louisiana. So that sort of helps use cheaper power. Again, if there are 10 sellers or 15 sellers, you'll be able to pick from the cheapest resource, and also it creates reliability. So it's going in the right direction. And hopefully, I think many of the regions are starting to go into the market.
That's awesome. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this many times. No, but that actually is insane. Like, we've talked about this many times, just me and you.
Right.
And like, I had no clue, guys, that there was even a energy market to begin with. Like, people buy and sell power like it's stocks. Like, this is how these things happen. And then they're rerouting it places, and they got all these other people. And I think, Ram, what do you do for a living? Technically, you're a portfolio manager kind of a thing, or?
Not yet. I mean, I would love to, but I'm a portfolio analyst. So what I do is I help these public. So the current organization that I work with is called the Energy Authority. It's actually in downtown, in the TIAA Bank building. I don't know if you guys ever got a chance to look at that building in downtown, but that's where I work. And so our organization is a not-for-profit organization, again, formed by public power utilities across the United States. And our organizations, again, they were formed by a bunch of members, and we help these public power utilities to manage their portfolio. We try to manage their risk. The portfolio meaning their assets and liabilities. In this case, it would be owning generators, serving their load, and all of these things. So we're trying to manage their portfolio, and we also trade power for them. So we try and buy and sell power, long-term, short-term, and whatnot. So that's what our organization does, and I try to work as a portfolio analyst. So I look at months ahead to see if there are any risks involved, if the power prices are going to go high and low, and you got to help them be on track. And again, these are public power utilities, so it's really a good deal helping out public power utilities across the United States.
Man, that is so sick. That's a job that like I wouldn't even have thought existed, and you're sitting there like underlying keeping everyone alive, and like and passing power around.
Saving us all. When did you like switch from I just want to have fun and play around to like I need to get serious and actually become an electrical engineer? Or was it like, was it tough at first? Or were you like, yeah, this is just my next thing in life, my next phase?
Actually, that's a great question. I think once I finished my undergrad, I was able to get a good sense of what engineering is about. although I doubt I learned a lot of stuff. I can tell you that again, I got out with pretty good grades, but really, I mean, again, in India, I think for me at least, the way I learned was to just get degree and try to just move on and see what's next. There's not, I didn't come out thinking I want to work in energy and whatnot, but I think once I graduated and I started working with an IT job, it started to sort of like everything started to slow down. I think until that point I was being like pushed and become an engineer. That's the only thing, and then the thrusts were off. They're like, all right, you're floating in space and you go in the direction you want. And I was like, all right, hold on, okay. And then, I think one of my friends who moved to the United States, he's a close friend of mine, and I used to talk to him a lot when he was here, and he was talking about some of the courses that he took, and he talked about the energy markets, and I was it's really fascinating because in India you don't have the construct of a market. Again, it's all monopoly. Like you got big utilities that just serve the power, and you're done with it. But the idea of markets were really fascinating, and at that time we weren't doing really good financially. My mom's divorced, and I have a sister back in India, and to take out a huge loan and take a shot at it was something that it wasn't something that I just wanted to do. So I just took the next flight and came in. It was like a huge thought out decision. And my mom really, I think she was done pushing me, doing my engineering, and she was like, all right, I'm ready to take a shot at you. I'm ready to take a bet. Because again, right, I mean, $1 here is like 70 rupees in India. So that's, you got that thing. We're financially, it's just paying your fees and from rupees to dollars itself is like a big pressure. Like how, if I graduate, am I going to get a job? And there's like a lot of restrictions for people who fly in from other countries. So the way it works is you come in on a student visa, right? You got 2 years to do your master's, and I did a thesis, which means I had to do research in the energy markets, and I published a few papers. And I really, again, at this point, this was really funny because no one told me what to do, because this is something that I took up myself, and I felt like there's no pressure to do this. And ironically, I did much better than I did in my undergrad. I think, but one thing that I would like to point out here is that, as I said, when I did my undergrad, I wasn't really, giving out much thought of what I was doing. So literally every morning I used to take my grad school classes and come back, do my undergrad classes to make sure that I know before I go to the next session, I know what's going to be doing in the master's side of it. So I spent, almost 18, 20 hours a day just going through undergrad and doing my thesis and then going back up, take my master's class.
What?
Yeah,
How many years?
Insane,
yeah,
man.
no, it was pretty intense, and I think
What was your social life?
yeah,
Hang out.
you heard it.
Who needs a social life?
I know.
Got bills to pay.
Yeah, no,
But honestly, that brings up a good point. But like sometimes you get you're in this like cycle that you don't even think there's anything better. Like the times when I would like work hours and hours and hours or study and not like hang out with people, it's just because like I didn't know that you can go have this much fun. So I was like, this is all that it is, and like I just want to get a good grade, so I'm gonna do it. It's when I started to realize there was other things is when I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Get me out of here. It completely switched from like I want to go to like I don't want to do it. I don't have motivation. It just died like that. So I guess that's like your thing. You were just in it, and you were like, all right, we're going, and then one day it was like you made it, but now you're on your own, and you're like, well, what do I want to do?
And then when you got on your own, it seems like you worked even harder. It's like you took
Yeah.
it way more serious. You're like, oh shit, okay. Well, I'm gonna make this happen for myself.
I think I think a reason for that would be my mom was like, yeah, but you did your engineering. Here's your a student loan of $40,000. Up to you. And then I was like, Oh shit. Okay. I thought, what's up with the pushing and paying my fees? Not anymore. And no, I think for one part, I forgot about the loans. I forgot about um, the money aspect, the financial aspect of grad school. Again, this is coming from a guy who moved from India, and like having financial hardships and whatnot. And that's one of the reasons why I think I pushed myself was I didn't have. I mean, weekends I used to get shit drunk and just restart for Monday, and but Monday through Friday, I know a lot of my friends were out partying. Again, it's a town in nowhere in Missouri, so the maximum you could party is go get drunk and sleep in a farm. But but the thing is,
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Before.
Wait a minute. Did you sleep in a farm?
no.
Did you?
Man.
You never know because the next morning you wake up in a different place. But but the point was, I think the true point where it sort of changed everything was I actually did an unpaid internship in New York City for 4 months during my master's, and I stayed in Brooklyn. And I had to take a train, go all the way to the city. It was a renewable energy company. It was a startup. It was nowhere. I wasn't. So this is my experience. I come, I watch a lot of movies in India about the United States, and everything shows New York. And I thought that's what the whole of the United States was: big towers and people partying and whatnot. And then I start, coming to Raleigh, Missouri. I get that feeling of the United States, and then halfway through my master's, I get on a flight. Go to an unpaid internship in New York City, and that was like the other side of the United States that I started to like sort of, shit, this is where stuff shown in the TV. This is where everything happens. But the rough part was it was an unpaid internship, and living in New York City is no joke.
Fucking joke, man.
I know.
No fucking pound you in the ground to a pulp, man.
It really, rent was through the roof, and food was. I think food was actually okay because you got like, for $1.50 you get 2 slices of pizza and a can of soda, and
they have the cheap pizza everywhere. I love it.
Right, yeah. It's that's what I spent.
Pizza.
Yeah, that's what I spent eating 4 months, and I got tired of pizza once I moved out of New York. But
all of undergrad pizza.
Yeah.
It's whatever it takes, man.
They are so good.
That's how they get you into sitting into seminars. But but no, I think that's where I kind of learned about, there was just people walking in suits all over, and they were just, it's just crowded, and that's the other side of the United States that I saw, that where people were actually shit serious, right? I mean, from Raleigh to New York City, that's when things started to like, oh shit, okay, this is how corporate life is, and this is what you should be doing, and this is what I actually came for. And to going back to the point where, the student visa, right? So you study for 2 years, and you got 90 days to find a job. If not, you're going back with the $40,000 loan.
Wow, are you serious? You have 90 days?
Yeah.
From the date of graduation?
So there's actually 30 days after. Okay, so it's actually 120 days, but I mean, in 30 days, if you can find a job that pays 70 grand, I mean, I would be super happy. But it's the pressure, right? I mean, until the end, until the day you graduate, you're fucked with thesis, you're fucked with the courses, you're like, you're just stressed throughout all that. And then you graduate, where they throw the cap, and then go home, and then you start looking for jobs, and the ticker starts, and you're like 90 days. And
wow.
And here's where the funny part is. And so the way it works is you got 24 months. Once you get a job, is you can stay in the United States, and then within then you got to apply for what they call the employment visa. So, and it works on a lottery-based system. And again, that goes back to the fact that there's a lot of people coming in, and you got to keep that, the limit and under certain control, and you gotta keep the thing moving. So you got 90 days to get a job, and then 24 months to get yourself an employment visa, and then you got 6 years from that date where you can be on the employment visa before you start applying for your green card. which for and again, this is from an Indian perspective, takes 17 to 18 years to get your green card, and until then, every year you got to update your visa.
What?
Welcome to my life,
Like,
Rose.
it's like
Sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
paperwork.
And in like any moment, right, you get fired, aren't you
Yeah.
like you have to go back home?
So you got 60 days for that. You got 60 days to find a new job, to move, and this is where again, this is where I kind of felt that shit doesn't matter. There are some things you can control, and there are some things you can't. And until like 2-3 years ago, I was super stressed about how am I going to repay the loans, how am I going to find a job that I'm happy with, and how am I going to learn more, right? Because once I graduated after publishing a few papers. I graduated with a 4.0, and I was like super, like I just wanted to do something. I wanted to get a job where I can contribute more, and I got the best job I could ask for, which was really in the ISO that I talked about by the federal government. And I was trying to, I learned a lot of things, but there was this constant pressure of having to make sure that, you don't fuck up, you don't get fired, and you don't do. So every time I go to India, I got to make sure I get a stamping, which means if the guy in the U.S. consulate in India thinks that my job isn't related to what I studied, he could just say, oh, oops, no, you're not going back. So there's like a yeah, and then you have a house here. Yeah, you have an apartment. You got your things here, and if you have a dog, your dog's here. If you're married and your wife is here, there's like a lot of things that you need to take into account. And I think this is all the stuff that I felt like going through and keeping this in the back of my mind. The shit that I do on a day-to-day basis to make money isn't that stressed out anymore. It's how you like sort of. And this is actually where the growth part comes in. This is where this is where I felt like I grew as a person. And I really learned that, there are things you can control. There are things you could do to your best ability, and you let the rest of the things on cruise control and just sit back, relax, and play FIFA once in a while. That's that's all you can ask for.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking
Using
about.
Fortnite.
Mason plays a ton of it.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so that's the visa status and visa stuff that I think Kevin asked about before.
Yeah.
Or KB.
Wow, man.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, no.
So I have a question.
I really like that idea.
How can someone build the mental fortitude and the discipline that you had to get a 4.0 GPA? Some people listen and be like, how did you do that? Masters? What?
Get yourself an Indian mom. I think that would be the
Okay.
first.
Get
No,
yourself
I
a
think
mom.com.
I think it's it becomes subconscious after a certain point of time that, and this is coming from an immigrant's perspective, right? I mean, I moved in. I've got this huge ton shit of loan that every time I think about it, I need to multiply that by 67 because that's how much Indian rupees it is, and I got to think about the loans, and that keeps pushing you for a while. But after that, I think if you think you get up and then you just pack your bags, go to the library, and something that makes you want to learn more and not worry about the results, or not worry about how much you're going to get, or not worry about the job, or not worry about being sent back because you didn't get a job. It's the stuff that makes you get up in the morning and start reading something, or start trying to solve something. I think that's where getting good scores would help you. I don't think just sitting in a library and trying to read something because you got student loans, or you need to get a job or whatever will help you get that. I think it's just a result. It's not something that you work for. It's just a result of the work you put in. And I think that's how I looked at it. Maybe there's a better answer, but I think that's how I looked into it, and sort of helped me get there.
Because I saw this video on YouTube of this guy who had these like viral videos of him studying for 12 hours a day, and it'd be like these live videos, and it would like be straight up 12 hours.
12 hours
studying. Yeah. He brought it down. He looks like some hipster kid with like huge hair, with like these old computers and like stacks of books and like sticky notes and a perfect row. I'm like, holy crap. But he like brought it all down to like drive and like, the reason why he's doing it. and like you said, you need leverage, to continue studying, and like it was because he was like people would call him a failure and like all this stuff, and he like started crying on camera and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like he had all that like leverage behind him to really do that 12 hours like every day.
Right.
So it's like,
and I think it also comes down to, like, I know, if you're a coder, right? If you code for something for 12 hours and then you finally see that shit working, right? It's that moment, right? I think if that is in your mind, to make sure that you're starting to see the output, or if you're an engineer, you're trying to solve a problem and finally everything falls into its place, I think that's what you should be looking at, rather than, oh shit, I got to work on this for 12 hours. I think maybe that sometimes helps if you're interested, or if you're motivated by the end result. I think that will help you get where you need to go. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the code doesn't work. Sometimes things don't fall in its place. But I think it's 12 hours well spent, because that's not how you're not supposed to do. So I guess there's always a positive to look at it. I mean, this sounds cliche, but fuck, this is where I ended up. I mean, I used to watch a lot of videos where people talk about this, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's just bluffing. But once you start going through that stuff and you see it for yourself, I think maybe it starts to make sense.
Dude, that's awesome. I love your perspective on things. It's very just like work hard, but also like it doesn't really matter. Like just do what you want to do.
It's true. But I gotta tell you, that's one of the reasons why I actually moved to the United States. And I think from whoever I talked to, people who are here for a long time, I think this is what I sort of learned, that if you work hard and if you're fair, I mean, you don't do illegal shit, you got a spot at the table. That you're hardworking and you follow the rules, there's a fair shot. And I think that sounded like a fair trade to me. I mean, that's something that I can live with. And I think that's one of the reasons why I moved to the United States. I was thinking about going to Australia or even Europe, but where you can watch a lot of soccer, which is something that I really love. But but I think the whole idea. I mean, I know people think that corporate America is like they suck you into it. It's like a big demon, whatnot, blah blah. But I mean, it's a trade. You put in the hours, you get the money, and you actually start living your life. And if it's a fair trade, you put in your hard work, you get a seat at the table. I think that's a fair trade to take, and that's one of the reasons why I chose to move here. And I think it's been true so far. And I'm at a good job, and I'm learning every day. And
Right.
how do you feel about like those huge companies and like CEOs with billions of dollars? Like, do you feel like they deserve that money, or do you feel like it should be they're so rich they should be given that to less fortunate?
It's I got a mix of answers. I think people who start from scratch, right? People who have seen shit, who have gone through rough patches in their childhood and haven't seen a lot of money growing up, but they put in the hours, they put in the hard work, and they've taken shit all over their life, and they moved up, and now they own that much money and everything legal, everything done the right way, pay their taxes. I mean, you could do charity, you don't have to do charity, I don't give a shit. But if you do stuff the right way, I think it's fair enough. But I know people, they try to find loopholes to get to a place where sometimes you think they don't deserve to be, or they make. I feel like a person who follows the rules and knows what's up wouldn't take more money than he's supposed to. I think that's how I see it. So anywhere you see people who making billions of dollars that you think they don't deserve, I think they don't deserve. But I feel like people who work hard and see shit that they've grown through, and they usually make sure that if they own a company, they would feed their employees more than they feed themselves. And I think that's a fair statement. I don't know. I'm 30, and I think that's how I see it. But maybe when I'm 50 and I start making a lot of money, I'll be like, yeah, shit, no, I own the money. I know. No, I don't know. It's something that I see it right now, but it could change.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Yeah.
Very
Now, when have you ever gone through like very dark times when you were like, because I know you were like, oh, just I see the debt or the loan and I just work hard. But like, have you ever at one point been like, this is just too much for me? You ever had a day where you're just like, God, I can't do this, and then you go back and.
I feel like there was a night in New York City where I just didn't want to take the train back home. Just take the subway back to my apartment because it was just getting too much out of hand. I was asking money from my mom to pay the rent, to pay for my food, to pay for everything. Even though I was doing research, I was getting paid. Wasn't enough because it's New York City. I'm doing an unpaid internship, and I just felt like it was too much. And the fact that I had to do my thesis during my internship because I was getting paid that way. So I had to go back home, take an hour and a half long subway train, which takes me from city to Brooklyn. And I used to work there and go back home, finish my research thesis, get back up tomorrow, and then take the hour and a half train, go work in my unpaid internship. And should, I feel like I work more in my unpaid internship than in my paid job. And that's how stressful it was. But there was a night where I thought, like, this is just way too much about my head. And I felt like, fortunately, that's not the worst problem that a human could face, right? I mean, you could just throw everything up, put your hands in the air, just go back home and repay the money. I've seen problems. I've seen people go through bad shit. But for me, I think that was one of the turning points where I just took a step back and I said, I'm here, right? I mean, I have a huge debt. It's just something. Sometimes it's just very simple. The answer is like, take one day at a time. Just get up tomorrow. Just do shit what is there for tomorrow, and then you keep going. But I think that really helped me, and I think that was one of the things where I started to take a breath and started taking things slow. And I think it really helps things put into perspective. And that's when I started to think about, oh shit, it could be worse. Oh shit, I could have been great if I did that. But you got to pick the right examples at those dark moments, because once you choose a negative one, you're gonna go spiraling down in your own thoughts, and you're gonna lose the confidence that you built so far. And I think it's important to have good people around. That's I felt like that's one thing that people don't talk about much. I mean, you could be like super smart, you could be like super wealthy, but you could have everything, but if you don't have good people around, I mean, it's not family, not friends, good people. There's a lot of difference. Friends, yeah, sure, you can hang out with, but good people is important. And I think that my wife, who was my girlfriend back then, was with me, and I think she helped me a whole lot, just getting through some of this stuff. And yeah, I think it's important to have the right people around.
When did you guys get married by?
Oh shit! I should know the answer at the top of my mind. I think we got married in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Damn, you put him on the spot.
Wait, what was the day? Say the day. Say the
24th
month.
of August 24th.
What
'cause
time?
You guys,
Just kidding.
actually, it's weird. People get married early morning in India. We got married at 6 a.m. Or 6.
What? Oh, wow, he knows.
Yeah, no. Because because they wouldn't even give you coffee, and you just got to go get married, and no. And again, there's a saying: when two people get married in India, it's not the two people, but the two families getting married. So, it's like you got to please your in-laws and the whole family before they say, yeah, you're half worthy to marry my daughter. That's the next pressure. It's a pressure all over.
So
and
much pressure.
Jeez. Yeah, it sounds like there's just a ton of pressure.
right.
Nice
It's
customs.
oh yeah. I think you guys should take 3 months, go to India, just try to live a life there, and maybe you'll come back and you'll be like, oh shit, this is so fucking good. I'll just be living my life here. No, I'm just kidding. It's
Shit, I might.
Yeah, we might. Let's do it.
But no, I think there's again, this is just me. I mean, I know people who just who I think some of the parents there are open-minded as well, and I've seen people just like live their life and you got so much great food, and people are everywhere. It's not like, you just go down the street, and it's like, if I go down the street right now, I'll probably meet 2 people, but there's people everywhere in India, and you don't even like, they're just strangers, and they'll start talking about the cricket match that happened yesterday, or there was a fight in that house, and they'll just start talking. It's a nice place to be. There's great food, and if you're in a coastal area, there's like a lot of beaches, good seafood, and it's great. Awesome. Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I'm here.
You made it.
I made
I
it.
guess
Living life.
How does it feel?
About
you're. Oh yeah.
what
You're
was
saying,
it?
Victor?
I think it was about New York. So when you took on the opportunity to do the non-paid internship, was it kind of like a yes right away? Like when the opportunity presented itself, was it like, yes, I'm gonna do this right away, or did you have to like think about it and like you're like stressed out?
So one of the crazy things was I said yes, and then they told me it's unpaid, because that's how much I wanted that opportunity, and I don't repent it, because I think that was one of the main reasons I got my first full-time job. I spent, I think, 10 grand, just not to 7 or 8 grand, and 2 grand just flying in and out, but just unpaid, just staying there, learning shit. I mean, it's a startup company, and in New York City, I just did not, I didn't just learn the technical stuff. I learned getting up at 5 and taking a train, meeting a lot of people on the train, and getting to the job, and trying to find the most cheapest food available, and trying to hustle through those 4 months. I felt like I learned a lot more than just my technical stuff at the startup, and I think that's something that sticks with me even now. Some of the things that, if I find some cheap food, and I felt like if I can save some money here and there, I think I'd just do it. And I think that's a lot of things that I learned from that trip. And as I said, I said yes because they were trying to offer me something that I was actually doing my research on, and I was like, shit, I'm gonna just take it. And I wish there was some money involved, but I felt like as long as I can learn something. And it was actually the street besides Times Square, which is the 42nd. So it was like, I just go out in the evenings, just sit there and just watch people like a weirdo.
That's the best place to people watch.
I know. And there's like crazy fights, and you can just there's like a lot of crazy people, man. But it was
valuable.
Fun. Yeah, no, it was
priceless.
Really great. Yeah.
And you probably learned some of the most important things in your life there, like in terms of how the world works, and getting away from school where it was completely structured to like, no, you don't get paid here, eat some shit and come to work every day. Yeah.
Right.
It was literally like eat
whole
shit.
different ballgame.
Yeah.
Like here's your dinner.
Here's your dinner. $1.50, 2 slices and a can of soda.
$1.50.
It's actually, it turns out it's the best meal I've ever had during my master's. I mean, those pizzas are so thin, and you got to just fold them and have it. And mostly, so I work at this engineering firm, right? I mean, if people who got paid there wouldn't obviously come there, but I used to have my food with a lot of construction workers and but firemen and whatnot, people who can't afford it's shit's expensive in New York City. And sometimes you get to talk to them, and it's a whole different experience that I felt like even if I got a job in Missouri that paid me, I don't think I would have gotten the same experiences. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I got a full-time job in New York, because I worked in New York City, and they saw my profile, and they were like, what did you learn here? And I said, this is a startup. I did renewable energy, and they're like, okay, we'll set up another interview, and things. That's one of the things I learned. I mean, I didn't know that I was going to get a full-time job because I did an unpaid internship in New York City. But you have to do what you got to do today, and hopefully things will fall in its place later. And they may not, they might, but just don't say no to things that are in New York City. That's the lesson I want us to take from you.
I love the lesson.
Yeah.
Now, do you think there should not be unpaid internships anymore?
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah, I don't think that should be a thing.
I just feel like it felt like it was borderline illegal if you think about it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just-
right. What?
Yeah,
it's close to indenture servitude.
right. They paid for my travel, like the subway, and they gave me a Metro card, and every Friday we got free drinks, which is a plus because it's a startup.
Nice.
And
They're like, here's
yeah.
a paper clip.
I can't
Yeah.
wait. Here's some whiskey.
Yeah, and I felt like I think people, I contributed, but I learned more, which was the important thing for me. So it didn't matter. But people who go for the money would be greatly disappointed because there's no money. So I think for me it worked out well. But certainly I think unpaid internships shouldn't be unpaid. They should be compensated in some way. But again,
Absolutely.
I won't complain.
Definitely.
I won't complain because that's one of the reasons why I'm here, and I felt like that helped me. So
Yeah,
As I
that was
said-
your journey.
yeah, I don't look back and complain, because if I start complaining, we're gonna have to do like a 4-hour podcast about the complaining.
Hey, we got
And this
all the
happened,
time
and
in
this
the
happened,
world.
it was not
To the
cool.
10th power, because we all have stuff we
Little
can
out.
complain about.
We're just silent the whole time as you ranting.
Yeah. There were like 6 people, and all of them were working full time. They were working in big banks, and one of the guys was working for Yankees, and he was like a data analyst. Like he used to come back and he used to do analysis on like the hits and strikes and whatnot of the previous games, and it was fun. And he was a childhood friend of mine. We both grew up together back in India. He's fucking smart, but yeah, he again, I go back home to that apartment, and that's a whole different experience because 5 different people come back, and they have their own shit, and they were paid, but I wasn't, and so I used to complain a lot at that time, and we used to go out for drinks, and they used to pay for that, and it was a fun experience. But I feel like you should have those things in life to know that some things are worth doing, even though they're not at that point of time.
What keeps you being so grateful?
Was that?
So what keeps you being so grateful?
Yeah, I mean, at that time you wouldn't know, right? I mean, at that time you just think like, fuck, I'm spending money to work, and I'm not sure if this is gonna work out. But at that point you shouldn't be thinking about that. Maybe if it didn't work out 10 years later, you could turn back and say shit didn't work out. But at that point you just have to do what you got to do, and I think it's important not think about it too much, as long as you like it. If you don't like it and you're unpaid, that's a different story. But if you love what you're doing and it doesn't pay you, and it's shit, it takes 3 hours to travel, and you're eating 2 slices and a can of soda for lunch, it's okay. Hopefully it will fall in its place down the line.
That's honestly some Gary Vaynerchuk type shit right there.
You
You know him,
It's
right?
Levels.
I don't know. As I said, I'm an immigrant. I'm still learning about the American culture.
Okay.
You gotta go on YouTube and look up Gary Vee.
I started off with American Pie. I started off with that Sandy show.
That's how you started? Oh, God.
Yeah,
Really?
that's how I grew up thinking America was all about, like party, skyscrapers, Jay-Z singing in downtown New York, and then I started studying in Rolla, Missouri. Saw a lot of llamas, alpacas, and
Llamas. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
so that's it was a beautiful mix. And then I moved to Albany, New York, where it's just snow 6 months at a time, depressing, gets dark at 4, but you can go skiing, which is good. And then I came to Florida, which is like a whole different side of the world. So
Yeah.
and it's been
Different vibe.
different wife. Yeah.
Now you gotta come to LA. It's always sunny.
As I said, my sister's in Arizona. At some point, I got to take a trip to the west. I think I've been to a fair amount of places in the east. I think it's time to start looking at the west. And I heard shit's even crazier there. But
Take me with you.
Oh, it's wild. But you'll love it.
I'm trying to go out there too. We got to all plan a trip to go see KB. He just
Do
moved
it.
out to LA recently. Well, it's not so recent anymore. Been a little while.
Yeah, no, it's actually longer than a year now. It's
Jeez,
wild.
This time is flying,
weird.
man.
It's getting weird to the point where like I'm driving now. I'm like, this is just normal. Like, oh yeah, I'm just going home. Like every time I go home from work, it says, "Welcome to Hollywood." and it's just weird driving past that. I'm like, hey, because I live in Hollywood area now. It's wild. It's like it's. I
Wild,
can't wait you guys
wild.
experience. Yep, the Wild Wild
Pretty
West.
cool, man.
Yeah. It would take me a bit to get used to that too, man.
Oh, but
Yeah.
I'm still not even used. It's a little bit of like every time I see everything, I'm like, God, it's the first time. That's kind of how I see everything. I'm like, wow, whoa, and then the next day, I'm like, wow. For some of my roommates, just they're kind of like, it's kind of worn off. I'm like, no, not yet, not for me.
Hey, at least hashtag 420, huh? You know?
Yeah, there you go. Hashtag
Positives.
Doge.
Oh shit, dude.
Positive.
Yeah, Rom thinks the same thing when he's in Florida. He just says it a little different. He's like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Seeing all the
Yeah.
Floridian shit happening.
I know. I've
Weird.
seen an alligator. I've seen a crazy person at 1 a.m. All the memes are true.
They get crazier the earlier.
Yeah, it's true. But I think Florida is nice in its way. I think I've back in India I used to ride a motorcycle, and I think I've finally gotten it back. I've finally bought a
Back,
motorcycle. Yeah, and Florida is a great place to ride. I'm alive so far, so things are
There
good.
you go. Motorcycles.
Hey, look out for motorcycles on the road. This is a message I would like to pass it on the podcast. But no, it's
Look
been
out.
great. Yeah, look out. But yeah, no, it's been great so far.
Awesome, man.
I
I
was,
think. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna wrap it up. But go
kind
ahead.
of an off question, but we were talking about motorcycles. How is the traffic in India? Because I've seen like videos of like people just zipping around each other and like no street lights, but no
Everything
one
is true.
tends to. Yeah.
Everything. And that's the beauty of it, right? Again, this is something that again, it's tough to imagine, but it works. When everything is chaotic and you're a part of the chaos, it works. If you're following the rules and everybody is not, you're going to be in trouble. If everybody's following the rules and you're not, you're going to be in trouble. But if everybody's not following the rules and you're not following the rules, everything's going to be great. And
No, that's so true.
yeah,
Egypt, Moses, remember that?
That was
Absolutely. KB was like, how do we get across the street? I'm like, just go through.
right. Yeah,
Just gotta
Go.
find a moment.
it's
Yeah.
it's sort of an instinct, right? You kind of know that whether he or she's going to stop, or you're going to know that he or she's not going to stop, and that's just in your brain.
Zigzag.
Yeah, no, it's
I heard they have the best delivery system.
what's that?
In India, I heard their delivery system is really good.
Oh yeah. I used to work. That's my first job, Domino's, and
The master.
yeah, no, it's like just go on sidewalks and just right on sidewalks. Get the pizza on time. You get good tips, and it's a life that. Yeah, no. And I think I don't think that's present in US. Like if you fuck shit up and you go past 30 minutes, the pizza is free. But it's not the case in the United States, right? I mean, in Domino's, if you order something and then they don't make it before 30 minutes, you
I
don't get
haven't heard of that rule.
Right.
I wish.
So-
I've heard of it, but I haven't had anybody actually do it. I worked at Domino's too. Actually, I was a delivery man there too.
You were? When?
Yeah. Did that when I was in.
Is this
when I was in college
pre-Bahamas?
first. Yeah, this was actually the job right before Bahama Breeze when I lived at Stetson.
No?
And then I got a
Okay.
job at Bahama Breeze and Daytona. And then I moved up from Daytona when I transferred, and then I got the Bahama Breeze job at where I met all you guys.
Wow.
Who else delivered before Bahama? Because I did too.
Did you deliver at
I
Domino's?
worked for Jimmy John's, dude.
Jimmy
I
John's.
delivered Jimmy John's on bike.
Didn't you get hit by a car?
I did get hit by a car, yeah.
Damn.
I destroyed the car.
Yeah.
They should never fucked with me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally, the car flipped over him, and he
The car
was fine.
flipped over me.
Swing. But yeah, I think that's a good place to start. If you're talking growth, there's only one way up. If you start delivering pizzas, and anything you do in life is just one way up.
Seriously,
That's
for real. It can't get worse.
It can't get worse.
Maybe McDonald's.
Yeah, it could get worse.
Yeah, so always fucking
Lose
broken.
everything.
The
The ice cream machine is broken. I was gonna ask you that. I was like, that is true.
Yeah.
I think every time a new McDonald's get built, they just give them a broken ice cream machine. They're just like, yeah. Like,
But sometimes it works. I'm like, that shit works. And it's like, yeah, nah, it doesn't.
The
Sorry.
thing is,
They throw it on
they
the
clean
ground.
it and they
Yeah.
want to like use it after a certain time. Once they clean it, they like forget everybody else.
Right.
Sorry, it's
clean.
broken.
Yeah, I want to leave on time.
It's broken, meaning I'm not gonna turn it back on.
Yeah, not gonna dirty it again.
Yeah. I don't complain.
Oh,
You get
man.
paid $8 an hour. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's
Gotta do what
fair.
you gotta do.
The amount of people they have to deal with, bro. Like I see these drive-throughs at like 2 a.m. and they're just pumping. I'm like, if it was 2 a.m. and I had like 50 people in line just all drunk trying to order, I'd be pissed too. I'd be so annoyed.
Can't leave.
Someone ordered
Well,
100
you can
hamburgers.
yeah.
God damn, can you imagine?
We were in the drive-thru for like an hour, and then we
Sal-
got to the front, and we
that-
were like,
that-
"Why it take so long? 100 hamburgers."
That sounds
That-
like a
that
first world problem
jackass.
to me. That sounds
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the first world problem.
That's a problem
Got
you
it.
can afford to have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Positives, you know?
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying
This
to
guy,
do.
he's always about the positives.
I know.
He loves the outlook.
I like it.
All right, hey Rom,
That's
I think
it.
we're gonna wrap this up, brother. We do have one question we like to ask all of our guests, and it's I need you to close your eyes and I need you to picture yourself on a couch. All right, this is the nicest, most plush couch you've ever been on, dude. And it's got rocket
I'll fall
boosters,
asleep.
and it's shooting you through space.
Right.
All right, and there's this billboard. You got this billboard for everyone in the world to see. What would you put on that billboard?
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Full send.
Yeah.
Podcast
That's a
end.
full send.
I don't know what it is, but let's just fucking do it, you know? Whatever I
Yeah.
want, let's just fucking do it.
Welcome back to Earth. I hope you've enjoyed your journey.